Nirvana became, like in our culture, nirvana is absolute, complete, total happiness. That's what your average person, because almost everybody's heard about nirvana now, maybe not 50 years ago, but today, most everybody's heard about the word nirvana, and they associate it with some state of unimaginable happiness, right? But of course, this isn't what the Buddha meant by the word nirvana. The word nirvana means cessation. It doesn't mean happiness, it means cessation. Now, how did we go from cessation to really, really, really happy? That's a big, wouldn't you say that's a big, big chasm to actually span somehow, right? How did we get this notion that nirvana means I'm going to end up being super, super happy? I mean, if everybody knew that nirvana actually meant something closer to cessation, I mean, who the heck would want that? So in most human beings, there's sort of this push-pull. There's this part of them that wants to not suffer so much, wants to feel better. Every biological organism likes feeling better, right? And also this drive, which is actually inherent in existence, which is really important. I say this often, that the spiritual impulse in everyone, that however that shows up for you, the deepest part of that impulse towards freedom, towards reality, towards the divine, the deepest part of it is something that does not belong to your personal psychology, although your personal psychology has probably hijacked it long ago, but that's not where it originates. Where it comes from is from existence as such. It's existence that is seeking to be conscious of itself. That's the spiritual impulse. Existence thrusting its way into your awareness, simply doing it what it does. It's sort of its evolutionary movement to become conscious of itself. Existence wanting to be conscious of itself. Your and my whole spiritual life is derived out of that. Mostly not only do we forget that, but we don't usually even know that at all for a very long time. Because the part of us that wants to just feel better is so dominant that we never notice that, wow, this yearning, this push, this thrust actually comes from outside of my personal psychology. And how do you know it comes from outside your personal psychology? Because the true spiritual impulse, as many of you have experienced at certain times, isn't particularly concerned about whether you're happy or not. Have you ever noticed that? That thing in you that's trying to wake up, sometimes it will be the most wonderful thing you've ever bumped into. And sometimes it will torment you, and you'll really wish you could just get rid of it and forget all about it. Like, why can't I just forget about all this stuff? Why am I tormented by this innate, whatever that spiritual desire is, right? Have any of you ever felt it that way? It's something that transcends your own personal psychology. You know, it usually comes to people in a real powerful way. It's kind of like getting a little too close to a fire. You know, like you dance around a fire long enough, but if you dance close enough, eventually your clothes catch on fire. It's kind of like if you dance around spirituality long enough, or more importantly, deeply enough, at a certain point, you kind of get the feeling that the whole game shifts, and it's not really you chasing God, but God chasing you. Have you ever had that feeling? And you kind of get this, it's just this intuitive sense that something, you were like the hunter when it started out. How can I be happy? What's nirvana? Where is the kingdom of heaven? I'm looking for it, I'm praying for it, I'm meditating for it, I'm stalking it in a certain way. You're out for God, right? You're hunting for God. Be a great name for a book. And then at a certain point, somehow, you don't even know how it happens, all of a sudden you get this unmistakable sense that the whole game is shifted, and now that divine principle is now after you. Now you're the hunted, right? And when you realize, when you have that shift, and you get the feeling that you're the hunted, then you know that the deepest impulse within us, the deepest spiritual impulse, is something that fortunately even transcends our drive for pleasure. It transcends it. It's of a different domain. It comes from existence, the movement of existence to know itself. That's the spiritual drive. And you really start to feel that at a certain point.